6:15 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Dilini Gunawardena and read by Geethanjali Ramanayaka. The headlines. A new program to make the most of the university education and vocational training for the development of the country will be launched. The third reading of the Value-Added Tax Amendment Bill is passed in Parliament with a majority of 45 votes. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena says that the South China Sea Buddhism Shenzhen Roundtable will further strengthen the relationship between China and Sri Lanka. The working group meeting of the Colombo Plan will begin tomorrow. The final examination of the Buddhist Sunday Schools 2023 has been postponed. Foreign news. The World Health Organization calls for immediate passage of humanitarian relief into Gaza. Sports cricket Under-19 Asia Cup, the match between Sri Lanka and the UAE is currently underway. News in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe states that a new program to make the most of the university education and vocational training for the development of the country will be launched next year. A well-educated and well-trained human resource is a requirement for the development of the country. The private sector has expressed consent to contribute to the vocational training education. New laws will be introduced to reform the prevailing education system. The President made these remarks at the convocation of the NSBM Green University. 176 undergraduates obtained degrees in this occasion. President Wickremesinghe further added that university education should be upgraded so that employability of the undergraduates will increase. Since education is a fundamental human right, Sri Lanka is getting ready to introduce new private universities in order to increase the education opportunities available to the public. The third reading of the Value-Added Tax Amendment Bill was passed in Parliament this evening. Accordingly, the bill was passed with a majority of 45 votes, with 100 MPs voting in favour and 55 voting against the bill. State Minister Shahan Semasinghe said that all the amendments of the VAT bill will be tabled in the House. He added that granting of approval for the tranche of $330 million of the extended fund facility will be considered tomorrow. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena says that the South China Sea Buddhism Shenzhen Roundtable will further strengthen the historical relationship in Buddhism between China and Sri Lanka. The minister expressed these views while joining the press conference held at the Temple Trees this afternoon to inform the media about the conference. It has been clearly stated in the records of Monk Pahian that China has maintained relations with Sri Lanka since the distant past. The minister mentioned that such programs will be very important to spread Buddhism all over the world. Arrangements have been made to hold this conference on Tuesday and Wednesday at the Temple Trees at the BMICH. About 5,000 delegates from 37 countries around the world will participate in this conference. The minister added that the government warmly welcomes this group with great respect and expressed his gratitude for holding such a significant international conference in the country. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Your next generation digital banking partner, People's Bank.
Today is the 17th day of the budget debate in Parliament. Votes on account of Ministries of Fishing and Irrigation were passed in the House with amendments. MP Niroshan Pereira said that a plan is underway to assign the sheds located within the port to the Indian Oil Company. He added that a program should be launched to prevent the fish harvest reaped. MP Jayaratna Herath pointed out the need to establish small-scale mills in each district in order to eliminate the rice mafia created by large-scale mill owners. MP Buddhik Patitana pointed out that a number of issues have arisen in the agricultural sector. MP Vijitha Herath stressed the need of providing incentives to the fishermen in order to uplift the fisheries community. MP Sarath Fonseca said that the allocations for the development of irrigation systems are insufficient, while State Minister P.L. Nishantha appreciated the allocation of 7.3 billion rupees for the development of the fisheries sector. Minister Manusha Nanayakkara said that the working group meeting of the Colombo Plan will begin tomorrow, focusing on the development of the rights of migrant workers, the development of opportunities in the international labour market and bringing the remittances of foreign workers into the country through proper methods. The minister mentioned this while joining the press conference held today regarding the working group meetings of the Colombo Plan, which will start tomorrow under the leadership of Sri Lanka. All arrangements have been made to hold working group meetings from December 12th to the 14th in Colombo. Accordingly, these meetings will be held under 3 areas, namely skill and qualification identification, cost-effective, fast and secure remittance transfer, and fair and ethical recruitment practices, respectively, chaired by the Government of Sri Lanka, Pakistan and Bangladesh. The third day of the conference will also include the creation of Knowledge Forum to discuss the challenges and opportunities in supporting the sustainable socialization of migrant workers in member countries returning home after working abroad. The event includes the launch of a regional handbook on reintegration of South Asian migrant workers introduced by the International Organization for Migration with the support of the Ministry of Labour and Foreign Employment and Sri Lanka Foreign Employment Bureau, which provides guidelines on the reintegration of returning migrant workers. And that ends local news for now.
Enjoy seamless shopping. Open LCs, settle bills and transfer funds instantly, anywhere and anytime. With People's Bank Digital Solutions, you're empowered to do more whenever and wherever you want. Unlock a world of modern banking conveniences with People's Bank, your next generation digital banking partner. People's Bank.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
The Commissioner General of Examinations, Amit Jayasundara, announces that the final examination of the Buddhist Sunday Schools 2023 has been postponed. Accordingly, it will be held on the 28th and the 29th of December. Applications were called for the examination via online mode. The exam has been postponed due to the inaccuracies in the information provided by some Sunday schools. Admissions for the examinations will be sent to the respective Sunday schools before the 17th of December. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
This is Watchlight.
According to the latest statistics released by the National Dengue Control Unit, the total dengue cases reported in Sri Lanka so far this year surpassed 80,000. The NDC said that 80,192 cases had been reported as of yesterday and 3,704 of them have been reported in December alone. According to the statistics, 47 people have succumbed to the disease. The Western Province remains the most affected with 46.4% cases reported. And that came to you in Watchlight.
Coming up, World News.
The headlines. The World Health Organization calls for immediate passage of humanitarian relief into Gaza. Russians banned from travel are to hand over passports to the authorities within 5 days. And Australia plans to halve immigration intake. The World Health Organization has agreed on a resolution first by any United Nations agency calling for immediate access to vital humanitarian aid and an end to the fighting in Gaza. The resolution calling for the immediate, sustained and unimpaired passage of humanitarian relief, including the access of medical personnel, was adopted by consensus at the end of the special session of the WHO's Executive Board on Sunday. It has also called on all parties to fulfill their obligations under international law and reaffirmed that all parties to armed conflict must comply fully with the obligations applicable to them under international humanitarian law related to the protection of civilians in armed conflict and medical personnel. Russians who have been banned from traveling abroad will have to hand over their passports to authorities within 5 days after being notified, according to a government decree that comes into force on Monday. According to the Russian law, authorities can impose travel ban on conscripts, employees of the Federal Security Service, convicts, or people who have access to state secrets or information of special importance, among others. The return passport will be stored by the authorities that issued it. After the travel ban is lifted, the passport could be returned upon completing an application, according to the government decree. The Australian government says it will halve the immigration intake within 2 years in an attempt to fix the country's broken immigration system. It aims to slash the annual intake to 250,000 roughly, in line with pre-pandemic levels by June 2025. Visa rules for international students and low-skilled workers will also be tightened under the new plan. Migration has climbed to record levels in Australia, adding pressure to housing and infrastructure woes. unveiling a new 10-year immigration strategy at a media briefing on Monday. Home Affairs Minister Claire O'Neill said the migration system had been left in tatters by the previous government. Back to the headlines of the world news. The World Health Organization's call for immediate passage of humanitarian relief into Gaza. Russians banned from travel are to hand over passports to the authorities within 5 days. And Australia plans to halve immigration intake. And that ends World News.
Development News.
The Sri Lankan tourism sector has witnessed a remarkable growth in the 11 months of 2023, with the cumulative tourist arrivals reaching 1.27 million, generating a revenue of $1.8 billion. Latest data from the central bank reveals a substantial 78.3% increase in income generated by tourism from January to November 2023 compared to the same period in 2022. The data highlights the notable surge in revenue earned from tourism in November 2023, amounting to $205.3 million, more than doubling the figures from November 2022. Minister of Foreign Affairs Ali Sabri expressed optimism about a surge in tourist arrivals in 2024 while addressing the Parliament, attributing the rise in tourism to the introduction of more airlines into the country. And that was Development News.
Moving on with sports news.
The 7th match of the Under-19 Asia Cup cricket tournament is currently underway between Sri Lanka and the UAE in Dubai. The UAE team won the toss and chose to field first. Accordingly, Sri Lanka scored 219 runs for 9 wickets at the end of their 50 overs. The UAE team had scored 202 runs for 6 wickets at the end of their 45 overs. And that was sports news.
Go ekak tiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Air Arabia launched a new route connecting Abu Dhabi and Colombo on December 8th and now will fly direct between Abu Dhabi and Colombo every Wednesday, Friday and Sunday. Launching Air Arabia's new route to Sri Lanka, the first flight from Abu Dhabi to Colombo was welcomed by a celebratory water cannon salute upon arrival and Ceylon tea gift packs by the Sri Lanka tea boat. And that was Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak tiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
And now in economic news.
Minister Manusha Nanayakkara said that plans are underway on bringing in more professions into the formal sector by introducing more professional associations and practitioner licenses. He emphasized that every profession must have a professional association that watches out for them and through which they can get recognition and licensing system. And that was economic news.
Weather report.
Showers will occur at times in the northern, north central and eastern provinces. Showers or thundershowers will occur at several places in the other areas of the island after 1 p.m. Fairly heavy showers above 75 millimeters are likely at some places in the central Sabaragamuwa and western provinces and in the Galle and Mathura districts. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central, southern and Uva provinces in the morning. And that was the weather report. Prior to concluding this news broadcast, the headlines once again. A new program to make the most of the university education and vocational training for the development of the country will be launched. The third reading of the Value-Added Tax Amendment Bill passed in Parliament with a majority of 45 votes. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunodhana says that the South China Sea Buddhism Shenzhen Roundtable will further strengthen the relationship between China and Sri Lanka. The working group meetings of the Colombo Plan will begin tomorrow. The final examination of the Buddhist Sunday Schools 2023 has been postponed. Foreign news, the World Health Organization calls for immediate passage of humanitarian relief into Gaza. And sports is cricket. Under-19 Asia Cup, the match between Sri Lanka and UAE is currently underway. Well, with that, we end this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation and returning back to Chandima Virakon on the other side to keep you entertained this lovely Monday evening. Over to you, Chandima.